Well, in the past day or so, Treasurer Jim Chalmers has laid out a plan for superannuation funds to provide the capital to drive industries of the future and the so-called high-paid, high-skilled jobs as well. He says that the superannuation wars are over and the business needs to tap the funds to modernise Australia's economy. Well, earlier today I caught up with the Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor and asked him if such an approach would always be in the best interest of the members of those superannuation funds.
Well, Ross, the money is the money of Australians, not the superannuation funds, and it's very important to remember that. And it's a good thing to use it to deliver the best possible returns for people's retirement. These are hard-earned savings that Australians are putting aside under the superannuation scheme, and they're doing it because they want to have a good retirement. That's the point, that's the whole purpose of the system. But it is their money. It's not for pet political projects. It's not for picking winners by the government. It's for delivering the best possible retirement we can for Australians. And that's why the focus for superannuation always should be the best possible returns for those investors to make sure they do have a good retirement.
And do you get a sense that this is the government, this is the Treasurer trying to pick winners? And if so, why is that so dangerous for Australia? Why is that so dangerous for superannuation funds?
Well, it's dangerous if it doesn't deliver the best possible returns. I mean, this is the whole point. There's a real challenge here making sure people have enough of a nest egg to get through their retirement. As people approach retirement, they start to realise this is a really big deal for them. And if that money has been whittled away because it hasn't been put in the best possible investments to deliver the best possible returns, then the nest egg won't be what it needs to be. It's as simple as that. So this is not money to be played with by the unions or by the government or even by fund managers. It's money to be managed in the interests of those investors, of those savers, of those Australians who are putting it aside for that purpose.
But isn't there sufficient evidence already that the industry super funds have managed their affairs in a reasonable way, that they would make those judgments? And if there really is capital to be sort of spent in areas where it can deliver a return, be it in robotics or be it in automation in the future or be it creating a more modern economy, that also creates jobs. So it does create value for the economy, the overall economy, which of course helps the population as well.
Well, you're quite right that many investors have done very well with their superannuation investment. That's a great thing, and many fund managers have done a really fantastic job, both retail and industry funds as well as self-managed super funds, of course. We've seen fantastic results for many people, but we don't need a lecture from the Treasurer about how they should be making the investments. They're the experts. They know what's the right thing for their investors, for the Australians who are putting that money up for their retirement, and that should be their focus. It shouldn't be overlaid with a whole lot of political objectives. Now, many of those areas, whether it's robotics, whether it's other future clean energy technologies, there are great opportunities there. There's no question about that. But let's let the investors do what they do best, which is deliver the best possible return to the people putting money into their funds.
So is your fear here that there is a philosophically driven agenda that might be actually trying to divert capital from superannuation funds into what you call pet projects?
Well, my fear is that the money isn't managed in the interests of the Australians who are putting the money into the funds. It's as simple as that. I mean, the job of a fund manager is to manage that money in the interest of the investor. And that's what they should do. They don't need a lecture from the Treasurer about all his pet projects where he wants money to go. He may well have a view about some good investments. I don't take my investment advice from Jim Chalmers. I'm not sure that many other Australians would either. Let's leave it to the experts to manage this money to get the best possible returns and the best possible nest egg when we get into retirement.
Okay, so this statement comes just on the heels of the Jobs Summit next week, and you get a sense it's almost mixed up with that this is about creating jobs for the future, higher paid jobs to actually enable more technical skills into Australia. The Coalition's decided not to go to that Jobs Summit. Why wouldn't you go, given that all of this is really to play for into the future?
Well, I'd make a couple of comments about this. The first is that Peter Dutton received an invitation after it had been handed out to the media. I mean, this is not a good faith invitation. The broader point here is we would like to see, of course, this succeed and deliver something that otherwise wouldn't be delivered. There's not a lot I'm seeing on the table here that's going to make any real difference. That is not decisions the government should be making anyway. So they are now starting happily to talk about making sure the incentives are there for Australian pensioners and veterans to work more. And we've proposed a solution to this problem where we double the size of the work bonus, the amount that Australians who are pensioners or veterans can get without losing their pensions. And it's good to see Labor starting to talk about this, and no doubt it'll come up at the Job Summit, but they can just get on and do it. Also making sure we've got enough Australians available at a time when we've got job shortages more broadly. We do have to have a sensible discussion about immigration, but these are things that can happen anyway. The government can get on and do it. Instead, they want to have a gabfest, which is really looking like it's going to be a fizzer. I don't see a whole lot of prospects that the thing is going to deliver anything much at the moment. I hope it does, but Jim Chalmers is no Paul Keating, and Anthony Albanese is no Bob Hawke, and we're certainly not seeing anything like what we saw in the lead up to that. What we saw coming out of their summit, the Prices and Incomes Accord.
You raised immigration there. I spoke earlier today with Peter Allen, the outgoing boss of the Westfield Shopping Centres Group, Centre Group. Now, he says that we need more immigration. He says that, like other countries, we should start to pay people to come to Australia to attract their talents, but also not just their talents, but their labour. Are you of a sense now that Australians, to attract more population, needs to start to pay people to come?
Well, my starting point is always to provide the strongest possible incentive to get every Australian who wants to work into work, which is why, of course, we've proposed the policies we have for pensioners and for veterans. But it's true, we are now down at an unemployment rate of not much over 3%, and it seems to be going down, not up. And that's a time when there's enormous pressure on labour markets and access to skills. And we see, look, as I get around my electorate and elsewhere in Australia, I see those skill shortages are very real. And so immigration does need to be part of the mix, making sure we've got skilled immigrants coming into Australia who can add to the fabric of our great country. That's always been a part of the mix, and it should be part of the mix going forward. They need to be paid market wages, and there's an enormous incentive, I think, for people to come to Australia right now because it's just a great place to live. Look, I did a citizenship this morning, 2 citizenship ceremonies this morning in Camden, in my electorate. Lots of Australians, or people becoming Australians, working hard here, contributing to their communities. It's a great thing. It's all part of what we are as the great country we are, and it is part of the mix, but we should never forget the importance of getting Australians into work wherever we can.
Okay, but bottom line here, do we pay people to come here or not? Do we give a financial incentive for people to migrate and come to Australia?
There's an enormous incentive to come to Australia right now. There's no shortage of people wanting to come to this country, and you only have to walk around one of our towns and cities, or just outside here where I am here in Goulburn. It's just a wonderful place to live. So I think we have a huge incentive already for people to come to Australia. We've got to make sure our system is bringing in those skills that we need. I think that's the really crucial part that we've got to get right. And I have no doubt that we can attract as many people as we need because of the great place it is to live and work in Australia.
Angus Taylor, always good to chat to you. Many thanks for your time today.
Good on you, Ross.